So thank you everyone for joining today for what to send and when. Kestrel has a lot of great content that we're going to be going through here today. Most importantly, I know everyone's top question is whether this will be recorded. Yes, it will. And we will send that out tomorrow via email to all people that submitted to attend, whether you were here or not. And we will get that to you with all the other resources that we're going to talk through as well. So don't worry. It's being recorded. I can see it confirmed. We're going to get that out to you tomorrow. So here today, I am standing in for Brian. I'm Chris, the co-founder and CEO over here at Seguno. Very happy to be here. Always a pleasure to chat with Kestrel and hear the great insights that she has. And Kestrel's here, she's our senior strategist. She has well over 10 years of email marketing experience. She loves working with you Shopify merchants to help you grow your business. And she's worked with tons of brands from big ones like LVMH to Roku to certainly some small mom and pop shops as well. So she's got a wealth of experience, and we're so happy to have her here on our team to share her knowledge with you all. Who is Seguno? We are the only top-rated marketing solution that's designed to fit seamlessly inside of Shopify, like right inside. So you never have to leave Shopify. It's completely seamless and just embedded within the admin. Removes the hassle between switching apps or a learning curve. So you can easily send out personalized emails, automated emails. You can create engaging designs with our Canva integration, which is embedded right inside Seguno. And you can monitor your analytics without ever leaving Shopify. So it's the perfect place to track, manage, and create your email marketing right inside Shopify. If you are a current user, thank you. We appreciate you so much. If you have not yet left a review, we would really appreciate it. Those mean so much to us. And if it just takes a moment of your time to kind of share your experience, we really appreciate that feedback, and it goes a long way to helping us as well as other merchants find us as a great solution for them too. So thank you. Now let's kick it over to you, Kestrel, and tell us what we're going to cover today.
Awesome. All right. So first up, I just wanted to give away a little prezi since for everybody who joined today. If you go to seg.uno/B4YS, I've got a before you send checklist. So Chris is right. I've been in email marketing for 10 years and I have sent thousands of emails at this point. And the thing that I always have by my side, or that I make sure one of my employees or my teammates have, is a before you hit send checklist. It's a great way to just double check things before you send them, because it happens. Everyone makes mistakes, that you accidentally put a typo or a mislink, or you just sent it at 1 a.m. instead of 1 p.m. It happens. It's okay. We've got a quick and easy checklist that you can utilize. It is just a PDF you can print out, you can customize however you want to, and it's just for you. So go ahead and take advantage of that. You can go to the website right now and go grab it, or we're going to send out the link with the follow-up email so that you have it as well. But it's just a nice little freebie for you. Now, jumping into our agenda, we are debuting our new 2022 calendar. It has all kinds of new bells and whistles added to it, and I'm going to walk through that with you all here in just a moment. It is the workbook that accompanies this presentation. You definitely don't have to listen to this presentation to use the calendar, but I think it's a nice add-on, and we're going to really talk about how and what you should be sending this year. And so a calendar really makes sense, right? Because we're planning out the email marketing calendar. We want to understand how often you should send and what should you be sending. And then we're going to go through the other side of things, which is your email designs and layouts, and understanding what are those must-have newsletters that you're going to want to send this year. We'll then walk through some questions, because I know you guys are going to have them. Please ask your questions. We're here to help. Chris is actually standing by ready to answer questions, and I can address those too during a question section. question section. And then you guys asked, we ran a survey. You guys asked how to do more stuff as we go through the webinar. And so at the end of this one, Chris is actually going to walk us through how we would accomplish some things in Seguno. So if you want to see some of the things that we're talking about live in Seguno, Chris is going to walk us through that as well. Yes, this is being recorded and we'll send it out tomorrow. And if you would like to, we've got the debut of our 2022 calendar. Just go to seg.uno/2022 calendar, and I'll walk you through that new calendar right now. So in the calendar, if you would open it up right away, it is actually going to give you a copy. So this becomes your calendar. This is, you can do anything you want with it. So if I wanted to, I can say Kestrel's 2022 calendar. You could put in your brand name. And then the first slide here is the starting point. And so at this, what we noticed with a lot of Shopify merchants is that they're not really sure where they are with their metrics with email marketing. And that is a key thing. If you want to take advantage of email marketing, you need to know where you stand, right? So at this point in the calendar, we recommend just documenting what your current email marketing metrics are. Now, that may be a little bit tougher for some of you out there who haven't found those metrics before. And so in the blog post that goes along with this calendar, we even created a step-by-step guide on how you can get these metrics with different screenshots. And so this is all going to be sent to you guys. Don't worry. In fact, if you don't want to open up this calendar quite yet, you just want to watch me, you can do that too. But along with understanding your current metrics, you also are going to be asked to list out any important dates you have and your target audience, and then what your goals or objectives with email marketing might be. So once again, we're going to talk through some of these things as we go throughout today's presentation. So you don't need to fill it out all right now. That's okay. Then as we go into the calendar, you'll notice that we've got some steps for you to follow. One, you want to decide on your frequency, and we're going to decide that together here in just a bit. Two, the calendar is completely editable. So you can actually click into the cells and write out what is going to be sent out on what day. You can also block off when you need to prep your messages and then send them. If you don't know what to send this month, that's all right. We put in recommendations for you so you can know those right away. And we even talk about what you need to be planning ahead for. Again, if you want more tips, we have a blog post that details out everything that I'm talking about. So don't worry, everything is right there for you. We tried to put everything together. And if we missed anything, obviously we're here to help. But in essence, you will see you'll see each month, and again, totally customizable. You can type in anything here, anything you want into any of the cells. And then we've got monthly reviews and quarterly reviews for you to go through as well. So that's the calendar at a high level, but like I said, we're going to use this as a tool throughout today's presentation. We also have guides and blog posts and videos on how to use the calendar too. So you will have all the resources you need. But let's jump back in. One of the biggest, hey.
Do you mind if I just show people real quick about getting access to the calendar?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you can just open an incognito window if you want.
Here, I'll stop sharing and you can go for it.
So when you click the link, so the URL is seg.uno/2022 calendar. And when you hit that, it will ask you to sign in to Google if you have not. And if you do not have a Google account, then there's a create account button here. And then you can either create a Gmail account or you can click here to use your own email address. And then once you're logged in, you should be able to get access. We're seeing a couple of people mention that they've signed in and they still don't have access. So I'm gonna look at those sharing settings and just make sure it's available. but if not, we can always export a PDF to send you all in the meantime. So we'll get back to you all on that, but that's the general steps. Once you do sign in, then it'll come up with a little modal that asks you to make a copy, and then that'll create a copy in your own Google account so that you can go through and make modifications and edit it and get all your information in there as you're working on it. All right, back to you, Kestrel.
Yep. And like I said, the calendar's not going anywhere. You are going to get it. And if anything, right now, we're going to do some thinking about this calendar before you even get into it, so it's a good like practice before we get into it. Don't worry, the team's on it. Up first, and this is the biggest question, so let's just tackle it first. What should your frequency be? How often should you be sending? There's really 4 factors. When I work with clients on how often they should be sending, there's really 4 big things you need to kind of ask yourself. Up first, consistency. Like let's say you're really enthusiastic about starting up your email program right now, and you want to be sending twice a week. Is that logistically really possible based on your workload? Do you really have the materials you need to be able to do that on a consistent basis? So whenever you think of how often you want to send, recognize that consistency is actually one of the strongest things you can do with your email marketing program. So even if you just send, let's say monthly, that's okay. And we can talk about some solutions there, but you want to make sure that you're consistently sending monthly. Up next is speed, because this is the real world. If building out a message takes forever, we need to find some efficiencies there. And if it takes you a really long time and it's really difficult, then you're not going to want to do it, and then your consistency will go down. So we need to pick a frequency that you can do and that is pretty quick for you to do, meaning that we need to maybe break down what it takes to build a message. And I'll talk about that here more in a little bit. Then we've got content. Now, obviously, you got to put something in these emails, meaning you need some kind of content. And because emails are naturally a visual medium, that means that you're going to need some visuals to go into that email. Often that's going to be product shots, lifestyle images of your products. Do you have those elements? Because if not, then maybe it's time to gather some of those elements all at once, and then you can use them throughout the rest of the year. And then cost. Now with Seguno, obviously you don't pay per email, you pay by contacts, but there could be maybe some other costs that might be associated, or maybe you're not on Seguno yet. So cost could be an aspect of how much you send. Like I said, not with Seguno because you just pay for the contacts, but there might be some other costs that you need to consider. And I always want to take that in mind. So consistency, speed, content, cost. You got to think those are going to be the elements when you're trying to decide how often should I send. Now, let's look at an example person. Let's say this is Shirley, and Shirley sends weekly. She's got lots of strong product shots and material for email marketing. She does, let's say, photo shoots 2 or 4 times a year. So she's got lots of really great content that she can pull from at any given time. She also sees a really strong return on investment from email, and it's one of her biggest channels. Let's say 20 to 40% of her revenue actually comes in through email marketing. So she knows that it's really important. She works hard on her list growth, and she sees a decent chunk of money come in every time she sends out an email. Her audience is also really engaged. So she's seeing click rates of, let's say, 3 to 4%, or click-through rates. That would be clicks divided by opens, maybe around the 15-ish mark. But really, click rate is what I like to focus on right now, because that is the number of clicks divided by the number of people that received the message. And that's going to be a little bit more accurate right now. But anyways, if you sound like Shirley, then sending weekly makes a lot of sense. But then let's say we've got Bobby, and Bobby sends bi-weekly. He's a Shopify merchant. He's got a pretty engaged audience, but he's not seeing as many purchases per email as he's maybe seeing with other more high converting channels. So he's really active in some other spaces, and that's where he needs to spend more time, or maybe he's got a limited number of products. So he just like logistically doesn't have a lot to say every time he sends out a message. So he does more of an every other week type send, meaning that he's sending twice a month. Those are two fairly common examples that we see people send on, but they're not the only ones. So there's other sending frequencies that we also see. People who send monthly. Now, normally people who send monthly have a small number of products. They just feel like they don't have quite enough to say, or maybe they have a smaller list. If that's you, and that's totally fine, it's a great place to start out, right? Let's say you're just getting up and running. Or maybe you're just getting more and more familiar with what email marketing is. I would strongly suggest using the remail feature. It just means that you're going to send the same message that you sent once, again, to people who didn't open. And by doing that, you're essentially doubling the amount of sends that you send out. And it means that people are going to see you in their inbox a little bit more, which is what we want. We want people on a regular basis seeing your name pop up in their inbox, because that builds consistency, and consistency builds trust, and people buy from brands they trust. Now, we do have some people out there who might be sending multiple times a week. Now, watch your engagement rates and your unsubscribe rates if you're doing this, because basically if you send quite frequently, and I've seen plenty of clients who've done this. I used to have clients who were daily deal clients, right? Like Living Social or Groupon, remember those? And essentially, if you do send quite often, then that gives more and more people an opportunity to unsubscribe. So your list is going down. It means that you need to have a lot of list growth tactics happening so that it evens out your list overall. All in all, to say, sending multiple times a week can work, but it's a little risky. So you're going to want to really think about it and make sure your audience is engaged. Now, the last one here is sending whenever. And I know that that might be a lot of you right now, and really it's a gut check time. Email is one of the most powerful channels you can use. Shopify has recognized it as the highest converting channel. And it's very powerful because it's also your data that you're utilizing. You're relying on first-party data. And as we all know, if you rely on third-party data, that can get a little bit tricky because the targeting can be off, or Facebook decides to change their mind about some kind of practices, and then you're kind of SOL, right? So utilizing your own data can be quite a bit more reliable than relying on channels like paid ads, where you don't really control the data. Like I said, by sending consistently, you're more likely over time to start really seeing revenue come out of your email marketing channel. The right number to send, I suggest, especially if you're you have an audience, you've got products, you really want to get into this email thing, start sending that every other week and then build up to that weekly cadence. If you're already going, I would say that weekly cadence is great. And maybe every now and again, you want to send more than once a week. Like if it's a really big e-commerce event like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Black Friday, you could send certainly more than one time a week. But this is a good place to start. And then over time, you can increase or decrease based on how your open and click rates are doing. Now, times of day that I've found successful: early AM. Now, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, and a lot of people say this, but the reality is early in the morning is when a lot of people check their email. Like that is just human behavior. That is human behavior for most audiences, but what you're going to really want to know also is, when is your target audience, think about your target audience, when do they check their email? Like, when is that a thing that they do? If they're normal working stiffs like you and me, then probably every morning, right? Over a cup of coffee. But maybe you have people who are going to be checking and buying things online a little bit later in the evening. I have also found that lunch time can do pretty well also. There used to be some stats that I would rely on around like when were people coming to my site and purchasing, and then kind of timing the emails out around that. But still, my default setting is early AM, and that has produced really good results for me in the past. what I highly recommend is you start with something, see how it does, and then try some other times and see if you can catch a big pattern. What I mentioned earlier, if you do send monthly, I highly suggest trying remailing. When you go to send your newsletter, you can check the box that says automatically remail to non-openers. You could choose how many days you want to send until you send out that. It'll be the same message, but you send it out with a new subject line. So if you're sending only monthly, then I would say wait another 14 days and then send the remail, because in that way, at least it looks like you're sending twice a month. Again, what I'm trying to get you at is you're sending and people are seeing you in their inbox on a regular basis, and it starts to get consistent and it builds that trust, because they're not going to buy from every single email, but as long as you kind of come back through, then they'll remember you as a brand. Now, streamlining your email routine. Every time I work with somebody on their email routine, and one of the best exercises that we do is just write out, what does it take to put together an email? And then where can we find some efficiencies? So what some people do, and I this isn't something I do anymore, but I certainly have done it in the past, is maybe I build out a couple of weeks worth of emails at a time. So instead of maybe building one at a time, maybe I would build two at a time and then schedule them out. And then that way I was only working on emails like once or twice a month, depending. The reality is, let's say you're super keen and you want to send weekly. That's still only 4 messages that you need to work on. So are there any efficiencies that you could kind of come up with there? And by efficiencies, I mean, maybe you go out and gather all the images at once, or maybe you have a brainstorm session or do some research on subject lines. So you write out all your subject lines at once. Anything that you can kind of batch, and in a way, this is kind of like food prepping. Any way that you can kind of batch these things together, those end up adding efficiencies, because ideally, I'd like it to take you like maybe 45 minutes to build an email. And honestly, if you get in a really good routine of what goes in the message and how it looks, it could even be shorter than that. But I want it to be a pretty painless process for you. And if it's not, what's painful about it? Let's identify that. Now, going back to what a calendar should look like for sending your email marketing, planning out the rest of the month, you want to look at, okay, when am I going to send? And let's say it's a perfect world where there's no e-commerce events and nothing's happening in your life, and it's a just very straightforward month. Maybe you just say, okay, I'm going to send every Thursday, come rain or shine, no matter what happens, send Thursday. That means that I'd advise you to prep your email on Tuesday. So go ahead and prep it. Give yourself some cooling off time to maybe review it, do some spell check, send yourself a test message. And then you've got it scheduled, ready to go the morning of Thursday. And so ideally, maybe your calendar looks like this, and you just know Tuesdays prep, Thursdays send. Now, is there anything magical about Tuesdays and Thursdays? No, there's not. But I will say that, just again, human nature, if people are going to take a day off during the week, it's normally like a Monday or a Friday, right? Because they want a longer weekend. And Saturday and Sunday, yes, some people do check their emails, and some brands kill on Saturday and Sunday. And I love that. I think, Drizzly, like the drink delivery service, I bet they crush on Saturday and Sunday, but not everyone does. So yes, I do like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as send dates. And if I was to just start working with a client right away and they didn't have any data to support when they send, I would probably suggest doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings at first, until we got to try out some Saturday and Sunday sends and see how those go. Obviously, e-commerce events play a big role in this as well, so that could change. Speaking of e-commerce events, the next big thing you want to consider when we're talking about planning out for the rest of the year is these important dates that are going to come up, because every month there's something going on. I promise you, every month something's happening. So it could be I like to kind of break these down into different categories. There's retail dates, and that could be something like back to school or the fall season or Singles Day, BFCM. I mean, honestly, even something like Valentine's Day is an e-commerce event, right? Because it's all about gifting. So I would say it's an e-commerce event too. Then there's more national cultural events, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Some of those might be a little bit, might work better for you than others. Some are just kind of fun to have. And some of them are very serious and definitely deserve an email because your audience is going to take it really seriously and they really need your product for it. And then we've got your important dates, and these matter too. So this is going to be when you have a family holiday, maybe when a new product is going to come in, maybe you're taking a trip to go to your manufacturer and right after that, like during that trip, you're not going to be able to work on emails. These are all important dates that you need to consider. Over the next 4 months, and this is all in the calendar so you can get access to it, you've got February, March, April, May. In February, we've got Black History Month and Valentine's Day that I would say I typically see the most attention in e-commerce around. Valentine's Day especially. And I'm going to talk about this more later, but we do have we're releasing a whole thing on Valentine's Day. We've got templates, we've got campaign templates for it. On our YouTube channel, I'm going to give you plenty of examples and what you should be sending for Valentine's Day. So that is coming up. And I'm going to do the same every month. Every month I deliver a video on what you should be sending this month to help give you ideas and inspiration that you can take advantage of right away. March, we've got International Women's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and then just spring is happening. So spring isn't, of course, an e-commerce event, but it is something that we're all experiencing at once. And you want to be cognizant of weather changes because inherently you can take advantage of those as a retailer. Again, these dates are going to be all within our planning guide, so you'll have access to them and ideas for what you can do around them. Let's just say, for an example, I'm a Shopify merchant and I'm planning out what to send for February. My calendar could look something like this. I will have my prep days, and then I block off the days that I want to have certain sends go out. And because I know Valentine's Day, let's say I want to make sure people get the gift. Let's say they're going to buy gifts from me. I want to make sure they get it on time. I'll say my last shipping date is the 8th. And so that's when I must have an email that goes out. So I'm working backwards from whenever somebody needs the gift by. And then on Valentine's Day, that's when I'm supporting gift cards and just wishing my audience a happy Valentine's Day. So this is a quick and easy example of how you could lay out the calendar. I put in these like little icons of 1, 2, 3, just so you could see them here. But obviously in your calendar, you can personalize it and type in whatever you want to. Now, a pro tip for, maybe if you're out there and you already have a really great email calendar and you're sending consistently, fantastic. If you want to take it one step farther, then I really recommend going in and starting to utilize some saved customer groups within Shopify. So for example, saved customer groups can find people who spent over a certain amount in average order value, whether they've purchased or not. Maybe they purchased a certain time period ago. Maybe they were tagged as something like tagged as wholesale or tagged as purchased a certain product. All of that can be used to define a specific audience and then send them a targeted message. By doing that, you're addressing the audience's needs. They're going to feel listened to more. They're going to feel like your message is more relevant, and they're way more likely to purchase. You can also exclude them from your send. So let's say you are running a sale and you don't want wholesale people to see it, or it's just not appropriate for them to see it, then you can easily exclude them from a send as well. You can easily do this. And as I mentioned, Chris is going to show off some stuff in the app later today, and he can definitely show you where to find these features. But it's just go into customers and you can go into filters and you can find this, create the filter, save it. And then when you go to send the message, you'll have that saved customer group that you can send to. Now, you've built out your calendar, you've blocked off your dates. At the end of each month or at the end of each quarter, it's really important to document how that month went. And the reason why this is so important is your future self is going to thank you because either the next year or the next quarter, when you look back, you're able to start benchmarking yourself and realize like, oh yeah, we did this for Valentine's Day last year and it was really successful. Let's do that again this year and let's try this. That's how you build an email program over time. And as far as the metrics I really want you to focus on, it's going to be, how's your list growth doing? How are your clicks doing? And then of course, how are your sales doing? That's what I really care about and what really matters. And then you can start diving in more to like, what was the link that was clicked the most in certain emails. Maybe, especially if you had a lot of different products within the message, it might be nice to be able to focus in on what was making them click. And then if you have any notes to self, of course, put those in here. And time to start thinking about the next month. So what do you want to do in this next month? What are some opportunities to grow? What if I get stumped? So I know you've heard me reference this before, but we just ran a survey. And hey, if you filled out that survey, thank you so much. This is for you. One of the big questions that we got back, the feedback was like, look, I don't know what to put in these newsletters. Like, I'm busy. I've got other things to do. And I hear you and I get it. We have put together exactly, what are the big e-commerce days in this planning guide and what you should consider sending out. We've also got a workbook that talks through lots of other popular newsletters that you could send out. And we've got video guides for each month that'll talk you through things and give you a little plan ahead time. So for instance, 4th of July is at the beginning of July. So you really need to be thinking about that in June. We'll mention things like that. And if you want to see our what to send videos, you can go to seg.uno/YouTube, and we've got them. Obviously, we're producing new ones for 2022. The what to send in February is going to drop today, most likely, maybe tomorrow, but probably today. But we've got them from last year too. So if you really want to get ahead of the game, you could go watch last year's. Now, going back to this must-have newsletters idea. So let's say, okay, Kestrel, look, I already did my Valentine's Day thing, but that's over. So what do I do for the rest of February? I hear you. We've got you. We put together a list of 15 different newsletters, and they're not just any newsletters. They're 3 different types. So there's ones that are very quick and easy to make, but they could get maybe a little repetitive for your audience. So you don't want to send these out all the time. We've got ones that maybe take a little bit longer and they're date and time specific, but they're special. And I think they'll stand out in the inbox, of course. And then we've got some that do take a little bit longer to make, but they're really engaging with your audience. And I know they'll stand out in the inbox. So if you choose one of these from each of the categories every month and kind of mix it up, then I think you're going to create a really interesting sending calendar for your audience. Now if you go to seg.uno/15 newsletters, and again, we're going to send this all out, don't worry, we've got ideas for you for newsletters. Not only do we go through what the newsletter is, we show you examples, and then we have a fill in the blank for you to go to so that you can see all of the newsletters and exactly what you should put as far as the text in the message. Because I know, what should I say in this message is one of the biggest questions you guys have. We made it really easy. It's a fill in the blank with some example text. The key there is definitely fill in the blank, but then go back through and personalize it a little bit so it doesn't sound like a robot. We want it to sound like it comes from a real human. And the more your niche audience feels like you're speaking specifically to them, like they're getting a message that is relevant for them, the more they're going to trust you, the more they're going to want to buy from you. Now, we're going to move on to how your messages should look here in just a second, but just pulling it all together. You're going to decide on your cadence. So maybe that's once a month with a remail, maybe that's twice a month, maybe it's 4 times a month. You've got to think about what works for you and what can you consistently do and stick to it. Then you're going to want to go through and highlight those important sending dates throughout the course of the year, which honestly really helps you out because basically every month there's something going on. So if you're struggling for ideas, there is something every month. And then you're going to want to, after you do your sends, make sure you document how things perform. And if you ever get stumped, we've got the must-have newsletters that you can go in and utilize anytime you want. And there's a variety of different ones in there. If you are interested, we've got a course even on, it's a short course. Like when I say course, we're talking like a half an hour, but you've got a course that shows you how to use them. We've got the workbook in there. So it's a no-brainer. It's honestly very easy to walk through, and you're going to come out of it with a great product. All right. Whew. Now, Chris, we're going to jump.
Need a sip of water. We got some questions in here. First of all, just props to everybody in chat. I love the combo that's going on, and everybody kind of helping answer some questions that people have. So thanks for participating there. You know, send time is always one of the most popular questions, and you know, kind of talked about early AM being a great option. So someone, Michelle here, asked the question that she gets a lot before 7 a.m. What if I were to send it late the night before so that it gets there first in the morning?
Yeah, you can do. You can try that. There's some sweet spots that I would say do a little bit better than sending the night before, because you can kind of be a little bit more at the top of the inbox queue. So I would recommend, 7 a.m. is fine. I normally recommend between like 6 and 8 a.m. depending on where you're from, and also where your audience is too. Like if you're on the West Coast, but you have a ton of people on the East Coast, then make sure you're scheduling for like their early AM. That can sometimes be a tricky one too. But I'd play around with a couple of times in there. To tell you the truth, all the big brands are they're sending early AM, but they're constantly kind of playing around with like what time is going to be the best time to send. So that's just a normal part of email marketing. I would say, like anytime from 6 to 9 a.m., 8, 9 a.m. is good. You start to get a little bit later than that, and people are in their workday and they aren't checking their personal emails much anymore. So I'd be a little bit careful about that. And then when people take a lunch break, they go back to checking their messages. And then normally at the end of the day, people also check their emails before they, sign off. But I would say consistently kind of that early morning send helps you be at the top of that inbox. And I will say that I've seen more power behind that. So if I had to choose between 10 p.m. or just scheduling it for 7 a.m., I would schedule for 7 a.m.
Time check. Do you want any more questions right now, or you want to keep going here and we answer more at the end?
Well, let's keep going, because I want to make sure that people see this part of the presentation. And if you can hold on for more questions, we'll make sure to answer all of them.
Sounds great.
Okay, let's go. All right, email design. This is another really important part of your email marketing, because it's great if you know when you're going to send and how often you're going to send, but what are you going to send? What are you going to put in that message? You need to know that. So let's just cover real quick the basics, the framework of a great newsletter. You've got a header, a body, and a footer. So we're working within that construct. Now, if we start to define that a little bit more, we've got your header. And in the header, it should be your logo and maybe your menu bar. You don't have to have a menu bar. I normally see that it improves click rate overall, but certainly it's not necessary that you have it all the time. This part of the message is viewed first and most often, because if people have a preview pane, this is the thing they're going to see first and right away. So we want to be really intentional with how this header looks. And often the mistake that we see people make is that they don't have a well-defined logo, or if they do, they're using it's really, really big, and it's actually pushing the rest of the message down, and people don't even see the rest of the message. It could be that they also don't have very interesting things in their menu bar. Maybe it's just the defaults that they have in their menu bar. I highly suggest, if you are going to put a menu in there, put in your top collections. And if you don't have that, then go ahead and skip it for now and add it back later. What I would like to see is a logo and a menu bar that's nice and simplified, smaller there, so that when you do preview the message, it's not taking up the whole preview space. You're able to actually see what the beginning of the rest of the message is going to look like. The other big mistake that we see people make is that sometimes, they're adding in tons and tons and tons of text. Maybe they're just copying and pasting from their website. And sometimes we've seen this work really well for certain audiences who are maybe expecting a good old fashioned newsletter, like a neighborhood community newsletter, or like an events newsletter where you're really laying out everything that's going on. That, maybe that would work for you. But for the majority of Shopify merchants out there, you're going to want it streamlined a little bit more. We want a variety of sections, short, streamlined text sections, image sections, and buttons. That's what we want, a healthy mix of that within the message. So let's see what this could maybe look like, right? So we've got some headline, we've got the logo up here at the top. We've got a simple piece of rich text that's just a headline text. It happens to be the same color as the image here. We've got a nice image. And then we've got a simple piece of copy and a button. This is a really great, really simple message. Less is more here, and it works really well. Now, what this looks like in the Seguno app is that you would have your headline text, you would have then an image, and then you would have some rich text and then a button. And obviously you would change this based on your brand and font and images and colors and all of that. But essentially that's what the bones of this should look like within Seguno. These are some foolproof layouts that Catherine and I have come up with that I think work really well on a day in and day out basis. So you could have image, headline, copy, call to action. Call to action is normally the button that you're going to put in the message. But you could mix this around. You can kind of mix and match, almost like little Lego pieces, putting them together in different ways. Now, to really make this come home so that you can see how it works, here's some different brands utilizing these layouts in different ways. So I know before when you saw it, it looked kind of boring, right? But actually, when you put this into practice, it's nice, it's simple, it's easy to see, easy to understand. And I bet if you start looking in your inbox at other brands that are sending you messages, you'll start to see these more and more. Now, some pro tips for you, especially let's say you're already using foolproof layouts, you've got a really great layout. I'm going to push you here. Let's start using some more GIFs. Let's maybe turn some videos into GIFs. I've got a great video on YouTube on how exactly you can turn a video into a GIF. Let's make sure we're showing how the product can be used, either lifestyle images or just the product being used somehow. Let's use content from your social media. You can link your Instagram in with Seguno. So if you've got some beautiful images on Instagram, let's go ahead and pull them on into your emails. That's awesome. It's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. And also it can be a great way to maybe promote people to getting over to your Instagram. Some behind the scenes shot. People like feeling like they're with you and they're a part of your team, especially because they probably signed up for your emails because of something uniquely you, right? I definitely use review quotes. I think that's a great way to back up your messages. And then overall, one of the biggest things is we have an amazing Canva integration where you can just build an image in Canva right within Seguno. It works like a dream. It's super easy to use. Please use it. Like I do, we all do, and Canva's awesome and really makes it super easy to create images in there. Now, the pro sections that I really love and that I think you can get the most out of the email builder with is the signature section, because you can use that to sign off your emails, or you can use it just to make really cool banners. The countdown timer, and then Flipbook, which is the easiest way to make a GIF. It's a really simple way to just layer images together and then show them going back and forth, which can be like a really simple but really effective GIF maker. Now, Chris, let's go ahead and jump into the app and show off a couple of things that we already talked through here today.
Awesome. All right. Great job, Kestrel. Thank you. Thank you. We got some good questions that we'll try to save here for the end, but let's go ahead and jump into the app. Okay. So here we are on the Seguno dashboard. And if we want to maybe initially kind of talk through some of the metrics and stats that we have available to you, let's jump in there. So if we first go to newsletters, we could look at our sent newsletters. And with some of this stuff, it's just a test account. So we don't have a lot of data, but bear with us. So you'll notice that on the right-hand side, this now shows your open and click rate. So just as a quick glance, so you can even compare some newsletters. You know, if you had, say, a good naming convention that you wanted to, you know, look at all your Tuesday tip newsletters, for instance, you could do a search here, and then you could compare how those have done over time. So that's a quick little tip there. But let's just jump into one. So this takes us to the detail page. Up top, you'll notice we have all our delivery metrics. So delivered, opened, click. You can see those counts as well as percentage. And then we've got our unsubs, unsubscribes, complaints. Complaint is when someone clicks mark as spam, just so in case everyone knows, and then bounce rate. So when you can click on any of these that are linked, that will take you to a more detailed activity report here, where you can see top links. So this is really handy. Let's say you're sending out a newsletter that's maybe promoting your different collections, and you then want to kind of look back after you've sent that email and see, okay, what resonated most with people? And then maybe the one that got the most clicks, you then schedule your next newsletter, kind of breaking down that collection, showing some of your top products from that collection. So that's great to see what people are engaging with. Down below, you can see who actually took these actions, you know, opened or clicked, for instance. And when you click on someone, it takes you to their subscriber profile. So here you can see more detailed look at a particular subscriber. So some of their overall metrics, their timeline of the actions that they're taking. You can see discounts that they were given. This is really handy in case you have a support issue where someone emails you asking, you know, they can't find the code that they know that they had. You could look it up here in their subscriber profile, the one that they got in their email. And then if you click view customer, that'll take you to the customer record right in Shopify. So that's a newsletter there. And then we have a view report button. So this will take you over to the sales side of the house. Inside of Shopify, there's this report here that shows you visitors, how many added to cart, how many orders were placed, what were the sales generated, average order value, number of products sold, first-time customers. So really great metrics on the revenue side, leveraging that data inside of Shopify. So you have that available to you. Everything I just showed you is available for every single newsletter as well as automation. You'll notice this newsletter is actually part of a campaign. So if I click that, that'll take us to the campaign here. Now, campaigns are a wonderful way to group newsletters that are meant for kind of a coordinated effort or promotion. Black Friday here being a perfect example, but maybe you're launching a new product, whatever it may be. It's a great way to kind of group those newsletters, have a nice scheduling view, and also these aggregated metrics. So you can see kind of overall how those newsletters performed. You can still jump in to view all the metrics on the individual newsletters, but this gives you a quick glance overall. And we jump over to the automations side of the house. Let's see, we've got our welcome email, welcome automation here, for instance. So this is a series, and you can see, again, the open and click rate just at a quick glance for each email in the series. You've got your aggregated stats across all of the emails in the series. And if you wanted to look at a more detailed view for a particular email, you just click the actions menu and choose to view activity, and it'll take you back to that activity report that I showed you earlier. So this is what you can see within Seguno. Again, all of those automations have that view report button up here to take you into Shopify to see that, that revenue report. But also you can see some more stats inside of marketing. So depending on how you're creating your newsletters, some might show up here in the recent marketing. For instance, if you're utilizing our post-purchase automation, or a product purchase automation, or a tag trigger automation, or you created your newsletter from within here. But everything else will also show down here in the activities created outside of Shopify marketing. So you can view those. It's it's kind of ordered by recency there, but you can see a quick glance at the sales and sessions, and then go to that same report that I showed you for the revenue stats. Now on the analytics side, under reports, there's a great report here that is, I don't believe it's available for anyone on basic Shopify. So if you're on Shopify plan or advanced Shopify or above, then you'll be able to take a look at this product, or sorry, this report. But on the marketing side, you can see sales attributed to marketing. So the basic Shopify plan, they can see sessions attributed to marketing report, but all the other plans get you access to the sales attributed to marketing. So this is a really great way to see kind of an aggregated view of your metrics there. So let me change the date here. And then we're going to also apply a filter. So you can just see some revenue metrics here, total sales, number of orders, and there's other columns that you can put in there as well. But you may have a lot of marketing activities going on, perhaps across multiple channels. And so what you can do is add a filter. And so you could say, look for the UTM source as Seguno. And so that would give you all of the metrics here for any activity that you did within Seguno. You could also do something like email or look at your other channels. It's a great report that Shopify gives you, and it's really nice to see that and be able to drill down and get those Seguno specific metrics and see all that great revenue that your emails are generating. So that kind of covers a lot of the metrics and things that we wanted to go through. If you haven't yet, check out the blog post. That's the latest one here on the Seguno blog. So if you go to seguno.com, resources, blog, you'll see it there. And it's for tracking metrics in Seguno. So it kind of walks through a number of those things that you'll need to fill out that calendar section to kind of review every month. And so this kind of walks you through a lot of those things that I just showed you. Okay, now another thing I know you wanted to touch on was customer groups. So within Shopify in the customers section here, you can see all of your customers. If you say click subscribed here, you can see all of your customers that are subscribed to your email marketing list. And then you can also do more filters. So over here, we have a lot of great information available to you, such as amount spent, the number of orders placed, the date of your last order. So these are some really great things that you can filter on. There are others here as well. But these three things, you can really accomplish a lot as you think about potentially getting into more segmentation. Kestrel touched on a few. Some of the ones that come to mind for me are, people that have not purchased. So number of orders equal to 0. Maybe your first-time buyers, maybe your VIPs, and your lapsed purchasers, people that haven't purchased in a while. Those are some great groups of people that you could potentially treat differently. So, maybe you're offering a discount to those people that have not bought yet. And so it's a great way to get them to convert, but maybe afterward you stop discounting as much or providing as many discounts to that group after they've purchased. Maybe your VIPs get early access to a sale or special product release or something like that. Those are the VIPs, I think about less on the discounting side. You really want to think more about like how to make them feel special, because they're VIPs for a reason. They bought with you multiple times, so they're likely to continue buying, but treat them special is a great way to think about it and less about discounting. So any of these metrics or things that you want to filter on, there are also tags. So tags, you can really kind of do anything you want. So that's a very open-ended thing that gives you a lot of flexibility. So you could have tags based on maybe the source someone signs up onto your list. You could have tags based on some purchase history. Maybe they purchased from certain categories. You could have tags for wholesale versus non-wholesale. There's just kind of endless options there. Those are just a few that came to mind. If you have not kind of done a lot of tagging on your own up to this point, there are some apps that are really good at tagging based on some rules that you set. And so it could kind of go through your data, apply some tags to people, and then even apply tags on an ongoing basis afterwards. So something to potentially look for there. But once you create your group here, so let's just do those people that have not purchased before. So 0 orders. Then we can save the filter and say never purchased. Just give it a name. Okay. And then if we pop back into Seguno, we can look at where that comes up on the targeting side of things. So let's say you've got this newsletter. We want to target those never purchased people. So maybe we're going to run a special promotion and say, hey, you know, you've been around. Oh, that's another kind of nice filter to consider adding, right? Maybe you've been around for a little while. So date as a customer was, you know, between a certain date here. So maybe they're at least kind of like 30 days old and they still have not purchased. Maybe you want to then send those people a nice little discount to try to get them to convert for that first time. So you just do that right here in recipients. So you just, again, kind of select that never purchased as the example. You can also exclude customer groups and then you just hit save. So that kind of covers the customer groups. And I know we're kind of getting low on time here. Okay, the remailing, just as a quick thing, if you go to edit your schedule here, remailing, as Kestrel kind of talked about, if you're sending, say, monthly, and you could get an extra newsletter out of a single one here. So it's a great way to leverage that. But also it's a good strategy for people on different cadences as well. But you don't want to overuse it, but it's a wonderful strategy. So you can click automatically remail non-openers just as you're going through this scheduling flow here. You check your subject, you preview when you want it to go out, and then when you want the remail to go out. Be as simple as, you know, let's set it to 3 days later. You can alter the subject and preview text so it'll look different to them in their inbox. Then you hit continue. And then we've got this great confirmation page here. And so you can see the schedule of when it'll start, when the remail will go out, who you're targeting, those that never purchased. If you're setting a discount, its details would be there as well. And then you hit schedule. And then that first one will go out. And then once it's done, it'll schedule the remail 3 days later. Okay. Anything else you want me to cover there, Kestrel?
I think you covered a lot of really great stuff. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of questions that you can answer in Q&A, but
throw at me right now or no?
No, I think we got it. Now we've got some goodies I want to make sure that we can give away for people too. We've got a couple extra little things that want to make sure people know about, but.
All right, well, we can get back to it more in the Q&A section, but over to you, Kestrel.
Awesome. So let's get back into this. All right. And thanks everyone for giving us some great questions to go on. I tried to answer while Chris was going through the app, but please keep asking those questions. We're trying to answer them for you. We got a couple of goodies in here. Of course, very Valentine's Day themed, even though this is definitely making me want chocolate dipped strawberries. It's a great picture. Jeff put this in here. It's really nice. We asked for it, or, you know, we mentioned this earlier, but really a review would be an amazing gift. We'd be so grateful. If you wanted to leave a review and you are a current Seguno user, it would mean the world to us. Up next, also don't forget, you've got a before you hit send checklist that you can print out and just have or give over to your employee who's managing your emails or whatever you want, but make it yours. That's just seg.ino/B4YS before you send. Personalize it for you. It's something every email marketer has, whether it's just like written on a Post-it or whatever, but it's nice to have. Also, please check out our YouTube page. Like I said, we're going to be dropping the what you should send in February, which is really Valentine's Day. And if you wanted to, you could go back in time and look at some of our past ones from last year. We also put in there our product updates, and we do some really great email reviews. We do a lot of fun things on our YouTube page. So please go check it out, subscribe. We just hit 500 subscribers too. So like, woo, get in with all the other cool kids. And we've started posting more and more on Instagram. So we are at Get Seguno, and we are going to utilize this to show off even more email marketing knowledge, some great examples and stuff you can't get anywhere else. So please follow us on Get Seguno, leave comments there, and we'll get right back to you. And finally, we have got some free marketing courses. They really don't take very much time. We try to make them really efficient. They all come with workbooks to help you. Some of you asked, hey, I want to grow my email marketing list. We've got a course on that. And within it, there's even ideas with what you could say inside your pop-ups or your different email asks. So I highly recommend taking a look at that. And we're going to have more and more courses come out. We're working right now on an automations course that I'm really excited about. Can't wait to get that released, and we'll have more and more coming out throughout the rest of the year. And then finally, I think we're ready for questions. Love to know what you thought of today's presentation too. So if you have any feedback for us, please feel free to send that over to Chris and I. I think it says Brian, but the panelists. Please feel free to let us know what you thought of today. Did we do a good job? Do you feel like you got something out of this? I want to know. I'm putting together all this content. Would love to hear your thoughts. And then what other questions do you guys have that we can help answer? Chris, I don't know if you have any lovely questions there.
We do have some good questions. Let's see. So there was one from earlier. I want to make sure we get to that. Or did you already answer the one about the social side of things?
No, well, I did, but I think it's worth talking to everybody about. So the question was, how can I get more, should I talk to my social media about my email list? Yes. So on your social, I would talk about the cool, like the unique factors of your email, and on email, you should talk about the unique factors of your social. So your newsletters are where people get, let's say, secret sales or behind the scenes action, or when new products are launched. And on your social media, they get other things like, so products being used, product reviews, new product videos, or something like that. Make sure you're kind of telling people about each channel, because we want people ideally to be signed up for your emails and looking at you on social media. Studies have shown that they're way more likely to purchase from you because they're seeing you more often, they trust you more. So it can be really good. And it's also a way for you to define what's unique about your email and what's unique about your social media. So it's a great chance to say like, hey, we do all of this on Instagram, but if you want this exclusive sale, you've got to sign up for our emails, because that's where we send it out. So I do highly recommend kind of cross-pollinating like that. That's a really smart thing to do.
So here's a good one about reusing content. So things like images and copy over time, what is a healthy amount? I know this particular person says that her team disagrees with reusing content, even if like the emails are months apart. So what are your thoughts on kind of reusing content over time?
I think you've got to work smarter, not harder, always. Like everybody here I know has a really long to-do list. And if you can rejigger some content and put it back out there, I think it's a great idea. What I don't think you want to do is just stamp out like the same exact newsletter over and over and over again, because that's boring for people. But I think if you, change up the layout, change up the color scheme, re-angle stuff, definitely you can reuse content. If you think about, even if you have like really great open rates, it's still only a fraction of people that probably saw it the first time around. So by sending it out again, it's not like if you re-angle it and kind of change it around, people aren't going to really notice. And if anything, it could actually really help get your point across and solidify it, because people might have seen it the first time, but didn't take any action. And then if you restate it, then it's a chance for them to think on it again. And maybe when you restate it, you hit on maybe a different angle about whatever the content was. And that's the thing that they were worried about. So they go ahead and click through. If you look at, if I would suggest this for everybody, go sign up for some of your favorite brands and some of your competitor newsletters. And after a couple of months, really go back and take a look at them. People, email marketers in general, are constantly reusing content over and over again, whether it's product shots or blog posts or whatever it may be. And it's okay to have that healthy nature in there. The only thing you don't want to do is just look like it's like a direct carbon copy. That's not always, that's just going to get boring for the viewer, obviously.
Okay, so here's one. I'll take this one. So the question is whether you can use Seguno for fulfillment emails rather than the standard ones that Shopify provides after an order has been dispatched. So no, we do not, but the reason is because you can't turn off those ones that Shopify sends unless you're on Shopify Plus. And so those are going to send from Shopify. You want to make sure they're styled and branded and look nice, but those are going to be sent by Shopify, and that's okay, and that's a good thing. But we've got kind of the marketing side that comes after that. So, you know, when someone first signs up, you can send them thanks so much for your first purchase, and you know, you can build that rapport with them. Potentially, you wait a little bit, and then maybe you give them a discount for a second purchase or whatever it may be. So we've got those post-purchase follow-up emails, they're marketing emails. So new purchaser, repeat purchaser, lapsed purchaser, again, meaning that they haven't bought in a while. And then we've got some custom automations for product purchases. So this is really cool, where if someone has purchased a specific product or any product within a specific collection, you can actually trigger an automation series to send to them. So that's a wonderful way to, Kestrel's got a great video about how you should leverage that on YouTube. So go check out her tips there. Okay, next question. There's a growing trend of designing a responsive HTML simple email instead of designing graphically generated ones. What do you think about that?
Well, you can be a responsive email and still have lots of images within the email. It just needs to be an image that's going to look good on a phone, which all of your images should look good on phones. When you're considering what images to use within your messages, you want to make sure that they're the kind of thing that's going to look, you know, it doesn't have like lots of really small, hard to read text on it, so that it's going to look really good in there.
I think the other thing that you're touching on is that, yes, it should be responsive. It should look great on both, and you don't want to be dealing with the HTML that makes that, you know, it makes that possible. So that's where the Seguno editor comes in, and everything is automatically responsive and looks beautiful on both desktop and mobile. So it's very easy, and it's something you basically don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you use Seguno, you don't have to worry about it. And then you can look, I mean, you can definitely look at it on, like, we have the preview, so you can see it on mobile, or how it would look on mobile. But yeah, I think that sometimes people do try to make really complicated images, and then they don't look so hot on a mobile device. So, you know, you want to keep your images so that when you do look at it on a phone, it's going to be good. I think that's the only hot water you can get into, but all the responsive elements, Seguno just does that for you.
Yeah, one thing that I do see some people do is more of like a plain text email, which can also be a really good strategy. I think it works well, especially for some of those personal touch points. So maybe, you know, you've got that first purchase, and then you want to send kind of a note from the founder and have that look a little bit more like a plain text email, maybe leveraging our signature section at the bottom. But you know, that's a great strategy for that as well.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I saved a bunch from this last Black Friday and Christmas. Because I would actually say plain text messages were definitely a trend that I saw even more this year than I normally do. And I was going to do a video on it. I think a plain text message from the founder, especially using like the signature section with maybe a little picture at the bottom, I think that is a really nice personal touch. I think it's nice to have even like in the welcome, like if you do a welcome series, which you should all be doing. I think that could be a nice element within a welcome series. I think that they occasionally like just having that be your email that goes out, a message from the founder, I think is really cool, especially if you're like you are a part of your brand and people like need to know. Like when I think about this, I think of the brand Glammatic, which is like false, it's magnetic eyelashes. And they do a really good job of having the founder is very much a part of the brand. She's in all the photography and like she sends out notes from herself every now and again. And I think that is a really nice touch and something that uniquely Shopify merchants can do, that I don't think is nearly as effective if you got like, who gets a personal note from Jeff Bezos? Like no one gets that. Like that's not a thing. But you could actually write kind of a note that would sound very personal from you to people.
Okay, here's one from Mallory about, can we shorten the preview text?
Yes. Yeah. You can definitely shorten how much you write in the preview text. That's up to you how much you put in there. The preview text is often, so like when you look at your emails in, let's say Google, you'll have your subject line and then the preview text is there. So often what preview text is just a continuation of the subject line. And sometimes people have a lot of fun with this because they know that people see the preview text. So they'll say something funny in the subject line and then have something else that's funny in the preview text. So it can be kind of like a fun way to interact with it. But that being said, it's up to you how long your preview text is. I think of it as valuable real estate. So you want to make your subject line short, simple, and to the point. And then I would use your preview text as an opportunity to support that subject line.
Yep. If you don't have it be long enough, then the content of your email might start to show in the preview text area of the inbox.
Yep.
So I do recommend having it be, at least kind of 100 to 150 characters. I know it can sometimes be tough to fill that text, but leverage some of the copy and the intent of the email that you've built and the content there to kind of fill that. Customers may not see it all, but just having that just kind of ensures that you don't get something up in the preview area that you don't want.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, Chris, we're at like 18 minutes after. We've still got a couple of Q&As that looks like we should go through. And please, if anybody has further questions, please put them in the Q&A. I think Chris and I will stay around a little bit longer and answer some questions.
One more before we sign off here. So
okay, yeah, let's do it.
If it's possible to have a subscription form in Seguno signed by a person on a tablet, for example, that I can send the new subscribers directly into Shopify. So yes, there are ways to do that. One of which could be leveraging the newsletter form that is part of Seguno. But the other piece of it is it doesn't necessarily have to be Seguno, and that's the beauty of our integration with Shopify. So any app that may have, say a tablet form builder that you can use, as long as it integrates with Shopify and adds that customer and marks them as subscribed, then it'll automatically integrate with Seguno and can trigger your welcome automation. If you happen to find one that can also tag the customers, then that's a great way to potentially use a tag triggered automation instead of your regular automation for the welcome, to send those people down a particular path based on where they're signing up from. So maybe you're at like a pop-up shop or a trunk show or something, and you've got a little tablet with you for people to sign up, and then you want to have a tailored welcome email for those people. You can do that with tags to trigger a custom automation in Seguno. So if you haven't used the newsletter form that we have available for you, please just email help@seguno.com, and I'd be happy to kind of walk you through that. it's not the best use for it, but it could work. But you're potentially better off with some other app that can just integrate with Shopify.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, so Shopify just released a really big report called The Future of Commerce, and they talk about the, retail spaces. And I've done a video on this. We're going to be posting it on YouTube, kind of like a summary of what they said. So if you don't want to read the super long guide, I've read it, spent hours rereading it. So I'll summarize it for you guys. But one of the big trends is like these live events, and I definitely encourage you to have an iPad or a tablet out there with a form so that you can get people's email addresses. Maybe you have something fun like, hey, we're doing a contest today, so subscribe and be entered to win, or you can get 10% off your next purchase if you sign up for Those things are always really useful, and I think it's almost expected. Like, people are becoming like more and more trained for that. All you need to do is just make sure you show them the value of your email program. Like, hey, we send you where we're going to be next for the pop-ups. We show off new products. We even do like live shopping things on our social media, like sell them the email program and like the value of it. If you sound like the sad people at the big box stores who are like, can we have your email address? Then people aren't super convinced. They don't want to do that. But if you talk about what you're doing with your brand and how you want them to be a part of that, that's much more valuable when you're asking for the email. And it's just like Chris said, it's really easy to be able to get that data then in Shopify. So it's in Seguno, and then you can just start sending to them.
Okay. Well, we can answer a couple more of these questions just kind of via chat here. But thanks so much to everyone for attending, and please be on the lookout for tomorrow's email. We will follow up with the recording and all the other details. If you have any other questions, please email help@seguno.com. If you're loving Seguno, please leave us a review in the App Store, and we just hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. So we're going to hang out here. We'll just turn off our cameras. Feel free to leave when you'd like, but if you still have some more questions, just throw them in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to those until they kind of die down here. So thanks everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Oh, also, Chris, we made the magic happen. Jeff just ordered a sled. So from Rush Arctic, the Frost Rush Arctic Saucer sled. So awesome. Justin, there you go. It paid to come today.
I actually have the tab open on my browser as well. I'm planning to check that out and get one myself. So
that's awesome. All right, guys, we'll hang out and answer some questions. So please keep asking. Otherwise, so great.